Breaking news into the ABC 15 News Center as we continue to cover SB 1070 and reaction on both sides this morning.
Yeah, one provision of SB 1070 left standing by the Supreme Court. That's the check your papers part that requires state and local police to perform roadside immigration checks of people that they've stopped or detained if a reasonable suspicion exists. And now we're hearing reaction this morning from so many different people.
Let's get right out to Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton, who's at the podium now.
Policy for our city and our state. Today's Supreme Court ruling found that most of the enjoined provisions of 1070 are constitutional. In one portion, Section 2B, it found it not to be unconstitutional per se, but gave some guidance to law enforcement on how to implement 1070 in an appropriate manner. I believe that this guidance is likely very different than what many supporters of 1070 were hoping for. Today's decision by the Supreme Court is a reminder that we can't have a patchwork of state laws on immigration around the country. We need Congress to act now on comprehensive immigration reform, including passage of the DREAM Act, which is very important to this community in light of our demographic situation. It'll help our economy. We also need continued support for strong border security. Today's decision is a reminder that our state legislature needs to stop passing divisive laws. Instead, they should focus on the real priorities of the people of this state: jobs, the right kind of jobs, economic development, and of course supporting education. You know, regardless of today's decision from the Supreme Court, I believe that the spirit behind SB 1070 doesn't represent the values of the city that I lead. The city I lead and the neighborhood that I grew up in West Phoenix, taught me that diversity needs to be celebrated. Diversity is one of the great strengths of this city. I believe it's one of the great economic strengths in the long run of the city of Phoenix. So instead of passing divisive laws, we need to make sure that all young people have a fair opportunity to graduate high school and move on to college, particularly in science, technology, engineering, math. We need a more diverse, sustainable economy. We shouldn't waste our time with things that divide this community. Instead, we should do just the opposite. And as mayor of the city, let me speak directly to any business entity that may be deciding whether they should continue to do business with this city or state in light of today's Supreme Court decision. Look, 1070 doesn't represent the values of the majority of people in this state. We are a city and a state that embraces diversity. We want your business. We need your business. We are ready to do business with you. So just because a few people passed a bill that is not reflective of the values of the state, don't stop doing business with this city. I think over time, if you continue to do business with us, you will find that the right values, the right priorities will come out of this. I'm an optimist, and I believe in this city, and I believe in the people of this community, and I do believe that moving forward, very positive things are going to be happening in this community, and 1070, I believe, is not reflective of that. For the remainder of this press conference, the next speaker will be Chief Daniel Garcia. Chief Garcia will be speaking on the issue of, number one, how the city is prepared to handle any potential protests that might come up as a result of today's decision. He'll also address any issues you may have about how the city of Phoenix is going to implement any policies in light of today's Supreme Court decision. Then we'll take any questions that then we'll have the opportunity for the two councilmen that are here, Councilman Nowakowski and Councilman Valenzuela, to make any statement that they may have, and then any of us will be up here to answer any questions that you may have. So next I'll bring to the podium the new police chief of the city of Phoenix, Chief Daniel Garcia. Chief.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, let me first start off by telling you that the Phoenix Police Department will continue to embrace policing with a purpose. I want to make sure we clearly understand that. I believe wholeheartedly that the police department will continue policing with a purpose, and basically that means we'll nurture and ensure democracy, we'll ensure justice, a spirit of service, fundamental fairness, and protecting people from harm. The 5 principles that we adopted the day I got here, we're going to continue policing in that same manner. I believe wholeheartedly in treating people with dignity and respect, which is the ethical foundation of all law enforcement encounters. We will continue with that process. We will continue policing with a purpose. Since July 29th of 2010, the Phoenix Police Department has been enforcing Senate Bill 1070. We will continue to enforce Senate Bill 1070 as directed by the Supreme Court. I should like to tell each and every one of you that there are a number of topics that I want to make sure we cover with you this morning in relation to the decision this morning by the Supreme Court. First and foremost, the Police Department has been enforcing the non-enjoining portions of Senate Bill 1070 since July of 2010, as I said earlier, and we will continue to enforce the law in compliance with the Supreme Court decision. I will also tell you, in the category of equal justice, the Phoenix Police Department will enforce all laws, including Senate Bill 1070, in a manner to ensure equal justice. Under the law is provided to every person, irrespective of race, color, or national origin. In relation to civil rights, the Phoenix Police Department will not tolerate any violations of any person's civil rights. In relation to the community having a voice, I want the citizens of Phoenix to have a voice. This includes everyone, all individuals. The Phoenix Police Department will continue to concentrate its resources on crime suppressions in relation to violent crime and property crimes. We have to enforce those issues. In anticipation of the Supreme Court's decision, we have implemented training in our police department that starts from sending out emergency notification messages, immediate notification services message in relation to my position. I have posted my message that I'm delivering here today with the Phoenix Police Department on our website, and you're welcome to visit that website. It clearly states what I'm telling you today, that we're going to continue police with a purpose. In relation to that, we've also implemented training for our police department. Since the initial inception of Senate Bill 1070 in July of 2010, the Phoenix Police Department started training all law enforcement officers in relation to Senate Bill 1070. We will continue that process. We will get with the Arizona Post and implement their video changes as specific to Supreme Court ruling. We will continue our training from a technology standpoint, from a messaging standpoint, and from a face-to-face standpoint. Within 7 weeks of this date, we will complete training of all 3,000 officers of the Phoenix Police Department in policing with a purpose specific to Senate Bill 1070. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, in relation to people voicing their opinions and voicing their voices, we will protect the rights of all to demonstrate and have their voice heard, but we will insist on tranquility, peace, and not infringing on the democratic rights of any organization or any business or any individual in the city of Phoenix. We will protect everyone's rights to voice their opinions as long as they are within the means of the law. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief, very much for the incredible leadership that you provided this department in the short time you being here, and the leadership you're providing moving forward on this issue of how we implement 1070. Next to the podium will be Councilman Danny Valenzuela, new councilman who represents West Phoenix. Councilman Valenzuela.
Although I am pleased that the majority of the provisions of the law being examined were struck down, I am disappointed the most controversial provision of SB 1070 was upheld. When SB 1070 was signed into law during one of the worst recessions in the United States history, when cities and states around the country were dealing with record budget deficits, Arizona was hemorrhaging hundreds of millions of dollars additional in forecasted revenue from tourism, sales tax, and convention business. I appreciate the words from our new police chief. I am confident that the Phoenix police officers will continue to enforce state laws while ensuring equal justice for all. I believe that leadership not only comes from the top down, from the very bottom up. Now, the message heard from Washington, D.C. this morning, from the Supreme Court of the United States, a message heard in our city, our state, and our country, is that Congress must act now and pass comprehensive immigration reform. We should not take a localized, piecemeal approach to immigration reform. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman, very much for your statement on that issue. Next to the podium will be Councilman Michael Nowakowski. Councilman Nowakowski represents Central Phoenix and Southwest Phoenix, including Levine. Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, welcome to Phoenix. You know, today's decision is a move in the right direction. It's not everything that everyone wants, but it's a move in the right direction. You know, the state of Arizona, especially our elected officials at the state level, have the opportunity. They have the opportunity to write a chapter in civil rights for the whole country. And I hope you write a good chapter for our state of Arizona, because we will be remembered for years and years to come. One of the things I take pride of is that the city of Phoenix always brings their residents together. From budgeting, we have budget hearings where we listen to the concerns of our residents. And tonight, at Carl Hayden High School, I invited the chief, our city manager, and our mayor, and all of my colleagues to a town hall to listen to the residents of Phoenix on all their concerns on this new bill. So I invite you all tonight on 35th Avenue and Roosevelt at 6 o'clock at Carl Hayden High School to come down and express your feelings. Talk to the chief. Have the chief sit down one-on-one with you all and find out what the law is all about. So I want to thank you all for all your hard work, and all those individuals that have been praying for this day. Your prayers have been almost answered, and continue praying and put those prayers into action. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman, and we'll see you tonight. Although I know you invited all the council members, we cannot have a majority there for quorum rules, but I know the spirit in which you did that. Now we'll try to keep this as organized as possible, but we will take a few questions from anyone in the media for any of the folks up here at the podium. Chief, please go.
Yes, Chief Garcia, in light of today's Supreme Court decision, how can your department and your officers avoid racial profiling?
Fact is our department will not tolerate profiling in any shape, way, or form. The standards of policing are very clear. We treat everybody with dignity and respect. We're going to stick with the ethical foundation of policing, which I call treating people with dignity and respect. We're going to continue policing with a purpose. The 5 categories that I told you, we're going to protect people's rights. We're going to protect democracy, justice, spirit of service, fundamental fairness, and protecting people from harm. That's how you don't get into the issue of racial profiling.
In light of the ruling today, there might be some harm?
The challenges in law enforcement are always there. This is no different than any other day, sir.
Chief Garcia, will officers really check the immigration status of someone they pull over for speeding? That process takes a while to call ICE, sometimes 2 hours.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. The first thing that an officer has to have is reasonable suspicion that a crime has occurred before he encounters anybody. Whether it's a Part 1 criminal offense or a traffic violation, he has to have a reasonable suspicion that a crime has occurred. The second thing you have to have is reasonable suspicion that someone here is illegally. So let's not get ahead of ourselves rushing immediately to checking people's papers or in reality checking people's status.
Let's say though it's a speeding and this person doesn't have ID. Will that person be held for 2 hours or is speeding not?
Folks, it is much too early to start speculating on some of these issues on the law. We're meeting with our legal attorneys, and we're discussing these very same issues that you're asking me. From this standpoint, folks, we're going to need that time to make sure that we are within all the legal rights of the police department and the citizens we serve.
Chief, DHS has rescinded your 287G and has put in some policies and protocols in place now.
Again, that shouldn't affect our law enforcement issues at all, man.
Chief, Campesina Network, we had this morning another hour special allowing the community to voice their concerns. And a common thread that disturbed me a great deal was how fearful people are to call the police to report crime. What does that mean for the department?
Well, quite frankly, I mean, we want to make sure our people have a voice in our community. This type of dialogue we're having here today, the type of dialogue that we're going to have tonight in relation with our community, opens those opportunities of dialogue. We want our people to have a voice. By opening that dialogue, we're going to be able to put away some of the myths and some of the issues of fear that are going on in the community. That's my purpose. That's why I've been out so much in front, visiting with the media, visiting with the community leaders in relation to what we have in front of us today.
Chief Sandra today was the person on our yard said that he alleged that you have instructed your officers not to enforce SB 1070. What would be?
That is absolutely untrue. We're going to enforce all laws. We take an oath of office to enforce all the laws, and we will do just that.
Chief Garcia, you
mentioned that the 7 weeks training will be complete. Does that mean that from today there won't be any implementation of this?
No, absolutely not. We've started messaging all the way back to July of 2010. We have training that's been implemented. We've had constant training that's been implemented. The fact is, we're going to send out other additional training specific to the legal ruling today. We're not waiting 7 weeks. Let me make that very clear. Our training started immediately and has been retroactive to July of 2010.
But the implementation, will that start in 7 weeks or today?
Negative, sir. The process of the law that's in front of us today requires us to be on board and to enforce all laws, and we're going to be doing that. Yes, sir.
And Chief, we just got word that Homeland Security is going to suspend their immigration agreements with Arizona police, basically saying the federal authorities are going to decline many of the calls that they're going to be receiving from law enforcement unless they're felonies. I mean, any kind of response to the fact that your officers may call ICE and they simply will say, we're not doing anything.
No, I can't speak for ICE. I'm going to speak for my officers. We're going to be enforcing the laws. That's all. Thank you very much, folks. Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead. Quotes, it's going to be very minimal, quite frankly. In my opinion, the officers of the Phoenix Police Department have been enforcing this issue since July of 2010. I see very little change, just a lot more dialogue between our officers and the community. Thank you.
You've been listening to Police Chief Daniel Garcia as well as Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton and two of our council members as they have reaction to SB 1070 this morning. Mayor Stanton saying that this can't be a patchwork of laws across the country. The feds have to act now for comprehensive immigration legislation.
But the chief there also insisting that nothing is really changing, that they've been enforcing this now since 2010 and that basically everything stays the same. But the question is, what about this new report just coming out about Homeland Security and the president and a big move that's happened within the last couple of hours that could change everything?
Yeah, in fact, you could hear actually the police chief kind of listening to that and maybe hearing it for the very first time.